Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. So today I have a new product from Joy for you. For those of you with a 4th generation Honda CRV, which is 2012 to 2016 and all trim levels. So in this case today I'm working with a EX model. Had pretty much the base stereo. If you watch my previous videos, I've done 2 videos on a full installation review of the prior model. And I also have a specialized video that shows you exactly how to do some of the more advanced wiring, and there'll be links to all those below. This will not be an installation video. I'm just going to cover the differences, some of the new really cool features. This is a whole new platform for Joy. Alright, so let me get right into this here. So this is the 10.1 inch model. This does now come in 3 different sizes. So previously I've always really liked the 9-inch. Looks the most factory kind of to me, but I wanted to try out the slightly bigger 10-inch because it also looks very factory. You retain full access to your vents. I just don't have them, the actual vent inserts installed right now. You have the nice physical volume knob, and it kind of relocates the flasher control up here to the top, which is pretty neat. Alright, so for those of you who want something even bigger, so not only do we have the 9-inch model and the 10.1 inch model that I have here, we also have a brand new wide display model. Really neat, kind of a whole new layout and aspect ratio that Joy is using with these new systems. So it makes this kind of neat. These run on Android 12 now, and they're based on a Qualcomm 6125 Snapdragon chip, which is all new for Joy. It does have an octa-core 64-bit processor. It's got 4 cores that run at 2 gigahertz and 4 cores that run at 1.8 gigahertz. This has 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 120 gigabyte ROM flash internal hard drive inside of it. The screen resolution is 1280 by 800 pixels, and that's a 273 PPI with a refresh rate of 60 Hertz. As you can see, the screen is extremely nice. It does have GPS, GLONASS, and BDU, and supports Wi-Fi 5 for downloads up to 600 megabits per second. It also supports 4G, 3G, and has Bluetooth 5.0 on board, so you can put a SIM card in the unit itself. You can use this for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. If you've seen the previous videos, as far as what makes an Android head unit great, this has all of that. But it has the latest specs on the processor, and it's extremely powerful. So before we get into this any further, you can go on Amazon or eBay and find similar looking units for much cheaper. Those are the units that give these aftermarket Android head units a bad rap because they have really poor specs and really laggy, piss poor performance. So Joy is the only manufacturer that I really recommend. There's a couple others that are decent. So far this is the best one that I've found, and I've been using them for years if you've been watching my videos. So for those of you who have the Gen 4 CRV, we're going to go through this a little bit, see if maybe this is something you want to upgrade to. And for those of you who maybe just got one of these vehicles or are looking to upgrade your factory stereo, I'm going to show you what all this new unit has and why this might be great for you, because they are phasing out the old units. Alright, so I just got it hooked up. I have not even turned it on yet, so let's go ahead and flip it on and see what it looks like. Okay, so we have a nice instant on display. Obviously our time and everything is wrong. But let's go through this a little bit. So this is the new UI. It looks a lot better in person than some of the pictures I've seen. Click into the radio. As you can see, there's a whole new display for the radio. Looks completely different than the old one. Okay, so here's the UI in the daytime format. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to go into some settings and kind of set a few things up right off the rip. So if you're in range of a Wi-Fi network, you can turn on Wi-Fi. Again, like I said, this does support putting a SIM card in the unit itself, and unlike the older models, this does support all the bands from most of the major carriers in the United States now with using the Qualcomm chip. So that opens up a lot more possibilities for your SIM card slot if you want to use that. Again, you do not have to have Wi-Fi or a SIM card if you're just going to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay most of the time, but it is neat if you want to do a lot more with this unit. Okay, so we'll go into the settings here. Basically, some of the things you want to set up right off the rip. Let's see here. Be your headlight detection. So we want to turn it on, and I'm going to turn off handbrake detection. And basically what that does is, so when I turn on my headlights, you can see it automatically dims the UI, turns on the buttons, makes it much better for nighttime driving. Okay, and also there is, that's really all we need in here. If we go to sound, the beep sound, so when you touch the screen, if you do not like that annoying beep, you can turn it off completely, or they've made it so there's a bunch of different sounds you can choose from now for the beep and turn the volume up and down. So I actually do have a soft touch. You can barely hear it, but just enough to give you a little bit of feedback. So problem with the older units was some of the people were complaining about the Bluetooth call volume was too low. So now they even have a setting for using the host mic, which would mean the one that's installed in the stereo. And you can change the gain on the microphone. So if people are saying you're too quiet, you can now turn it up. So that's pretty exciting. It's just the volume, so some display settings. So this is camera settings, whether or not your vehicle supports, like the built-in radar. So this EX model does not have backup sensors, so it's turned off. Guidelines, track, reversing system. So this brings up a whole new issue. So none of these stereos technically ever supported the factory backup camera, but in my other video that's in the description below, I show you how we were able to tap in to the factory backup camera wiring and send the signal to the joining head units with their Android 10 version. Well, on this new Android 12 version, we can no longer do that. And the reason why is because this head unit only supports HD signal. So instead of the old CVBS is what it's called, really low resolution signal, now this supports something called an AHD format or a TVI format camera. And if you're into security cameras at all, those are very familiar settings, but you can find easily on Amazon a lot of backup cameras that come in those formats now. And Joying's own AR cameras, if you buy them from them, which I highly recommend you do, support the AHD 1080 P25 format. So long story short, what does this mean to you if you're putting this in your Gen 4 CRV? It means that you need to put a aftermarket backup camera in the vehicle. So it will just require running some the wires that are included if you buy the Joying setup to the back of the car. We will not need the pink trigger wire to hook up to the reverse lights, because if I put it in reverse, it will automatically switch to the display. But what we will have here, it's actually kind of neat. If you want to put the backup camera, say, in the rear window, you could effectively have two views, because the factory backup camera will continue to display in the iMid display if you have a lower, like an LX or EX or SE trim model, and then the new camera install, which I just have sitting on the roof right now, which can be mounted anywhere facing backwards, will show you this really nice HD display image out the back of the car. So it's kind of neat. It's a little bit of a pain just because it requires a little bit more wiring, but in the long run you're going to have a much better picture. And wait till I show you some of the neat features that you can do with that. So it kind of just goes along with this whole new system. So again, we talked about the AR cameras a little bit. We'll get more to that in a little bit here. So that's just some of our display settings that we can change. All right, so again, if we go to system, just kind of shows you what we got going on here. Snapdragon 8 core, already talked about. Adreno 610 GPU, 128 gigabyte ROM, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 1280 by 800. This is just like your IMEI numbers and some other stuff like that. So you can see, link, this is where we can find our wireless settings, like Wi-Fi, SIM card settings, hotspot and tethering settings, kind of just basic Android stuff. Bluetooth settings, so you can change the device name on this unit to whatever you want. And this is where you can kind of, you know, pair with certain devices. All right, so the new home screen. So like I said, if you watch some of the videos online, I wasn't initially really impressed with this, but now that I've seen it in person, it's actually grown on me quite a bit. It looks really crisp and really modern on the display. Again, when we turn on the lights, it dims everything. Looks really good. I really like the new kind of like quick settings menu. So if you swipe down from the middle, see you got your brightness display here and quick volume slider. You can turn Wi-Fi on and off, reboot the screen. You can black out the screen. So if you're driving at night and it's too bright, even on the lowest setting, just double tap it to kind of bring it back. So turn off data, Bluetooth, mute everything. Just kind of a neat little quick display there. These widgets are fully customizable, so if you don't have time, you just click on it and you can scroll, you can display your speed, the radio, location, navigation. You can kind of plan these out however you want. If you want the music maybe down here, you want the radio up here, we can change this to the radio. You can see I've got it down here too, and then you can just start and stop this stuff very easily. Same thing, if we want to change this from the compass, we want to make this maybe music, and then start playing music. If we click on it, it will actually take us into the music app. It's pretty neat. Okay, so speaking of, so while we're in here, there's different ways to get to it. We can go to the home screen. This is your applications right here. So obviously if we click sound effects, this is where things get kind of interesting. So we want 2-channel, which would just be front speakers. 2.1 means you have a sub connected to the sub output. Obviously most cars are 4-channel. 4.1 would mean you have your 4 speakers and a dedicated sub, and this is all part of the DTS settings. So right here, DTS, you can turn on and off. And a 5.1 system would be, again, if you had that center channel speaker hooked up and you found some way to put a center speaker in here. I can see, you know, custom aftermarket, this is going to be huge. You can set that up. So in my case, we just have 4-channel. So you can decide whether you want DTS on or off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, just see what it's all about. I only have the 4 regular speakers, no subwoofer. It is kind of neat. Kind of shows a picture of an SUV looking down on it there. If we move on, next setting is EQ. So these are kind of like, you know, the standard, just like before. You can pick a bunch of different sound. Not really one that kind of likes, you know, I like the complex mode. So as you can see there, I just selected complex mode. You can do simple mode. This is the system sound version here. This is where we can like kind of custom tune our curve, which is neat. You know, you can just kind of bring up everything however you want. And then that sets your user profiles. You can have multiple ones set. Fade and balance, obviously it's just normal left and right, front to rear. They have this new thing called scenes, which basically you can change settings based upon if you're in like watching a video or, you know, listening to music. You can make a virtual center speaker, which is what that is there. This is for like surround mode, bass boost if you have like a subwoofer or not. It'll show you what speakers you're boosting. You can click on them, like sub. You can have independent control of your front, rear door speakers, or subwoofer. This is sound field of focus. Here's our independent subwoofer controls. You can change the phase, boost the sound. Obviously, you have cutoffs for all those different things. And this is where we find some of that. So you can adjust the delay going to each speaker, gain. This is your crossover. So, for instance, subwoofer. You know, if you want to set it so only a certain frequency range and the slope can be covered in the crossover. There's just so much adjustability. I thought the last setup that they had was pretty neat. This one's even neater. So again, I'm just gonna kind of leave it on that setting there. I'll need to play around a little bit with what I like as far as my graphic EQ. The factory steering wheel controls, they do work just like before. You can hear there. I'm using the factory controls. Again, in another video, I kind of show you how we can get these controls working. So let's see if that works. We'll go ahead and try that out. The home screen. All right, so hit menu option. Let's see if we have, I actually have Netflix on here now. I don't see a steering wheel control app. We do have a car info. So oh, here we go. So it's in this keys and learning section. See, key to learn. Steering wheel keys learn. Okay. So now if I want to set, I'm just going to set this middle one here as the back button. Alright, so to do this, I'm going to press and hold the back button, which is hard to do with one hand, and then tap back on the screen here. Okay. And we'll just try that one now. So I'm going to click save. Alright, go to home. So if I'm like in the radio here and I hit that key, you see it took us back. Went out there. So it does work. So that's good. So we can still add those separate controls. Again, link in the description to how I added these controls. Again, these work plug and play. These phone controls you gotta do a little bit more work for, but it's all in that video. Alright, so it looks like with this new unit, Joing has gone to using what's called Z-Link 5, which is how we have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Before they were using, like, I believe it was the CarLink or whatever. It was a different app. Z-Link is another popular one used on Android head units. So click this. It says please connect your phone to this device with USB or Bluetooth. So you can do wireless and wired Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You do have to have Android 11 or higher on your phone to support wireless Android Auto. You can use wired with pretty much any Android phone. If we click settings here, Let's see, it says background connection on. It means it will just work next time you plug it in. Lets you select what side of the car you're on, that type of stuff. So again, in my other installation video, I show you how to retain the factory USB port. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it into my Android Auto phone real quick. All right, so I'm plugged in my phone. So it's a slightly different setup here. You can see the maps on top. If I click into that, it'll go, in my case, Waze is pulled up, and weather, and in my case, Pandora, or whatever music app you want. All right, so I'm connected to Android Auto, and if I do turn on my headlights, it does dim the display, so that's good. That's with Google Maps here. Let me get out of here for a second. And let me go into Waze here for a second. See, for some reason Waze is not going into dark mode. That could just be a problem with my app though. Alright, so those of you with an Apple phone, plug it in. It just works right away. No problem at all with Apple CarPlay, as you can see. And switch on the headlights, automatically goes to night mode as well. It's actually a really good looking HD version of Apple CarPlay. Okay, so now let's cover just a little bit about the stereo. Let me go ahead and show you the AR camera, which is kind of a neat new feature on this unit. So if I go ahead and click that, if it's not there, like I said, you can custom set these up however you want, or if you go into this here, you can find AR camera. All right, so this is the front camera, which right now it's just hanging here. You can see I'm in my shop here, so that's facing forward. The rear camera's on the roof, like I showed you. If we go into settings, so we can kind of set this up as a DVR, so you can record, and it will ask you the file path to where you want to record it. So you could put in a USB thumb drive. There's actually a spot on the front of the unit. I can't show you, but on the actual metal box part behind the display here, there's a spot for a micro SD card. So you can go ahead and stick that in. And instead of like the older type setup where we have a separate camera up here that has an SD card in it, the unit itself becomes the DVR, which is nice. So you can set, you know, where you want it to record. All right, so I just went ahead and stuck a thumb drive in my spare USB cable there, and now you can see it's changed to, like, it looks like a little stop, basically where you can stop the recording. So this is the rear camera, this is the front camera. If you want to hit this button, it will take a snapshot, and then where it says replay, if we click that, so the pictures I took, see right here, I took one of the back, then this is the video file that's been recorded so far on the front. So that's basically all there is really to the AR cameras. You have a front and a rear HD camera that you can switch between while you're driving down the road. Let me see something interesting here. Let's get out of here. Go to applications, file manager. This is USB 2. This is kind of where I'm keeping them. If we click the DVR folder, so it does have, here are pictures, here are the videos that we can play back on the unit. So the good thing about this now is you have multiple options. Unlike the older dash cameras, you can either just pull the thumb drive and put it on your computer, or you know, I don't know if this, let's see, I don't know if this one supports this. Yeah, there's no share button, but if you go to let's see here, the Play Store, you can download any application you want. So you can get a different file explorer, and then you can actually share directly from the thumb drive on the unit to your email or, you know, something else. So we can share video files directly from the unit if you have a connection, or like I said, you can just pull the thumb drive out. So that's kind of cool. So just a couple more pre-installed applications. They do have Spotify, YouTube Music, YouTube, and like I said, they even have Netflix on this unit from, let's see, where is it? From the factory. So if you do have either a Wi-Fi connection, you can use the Wi-Fi hotspot on your phone, or if you put a SIM card in the unit, you can run these apps directly. So like for instance, YouTube, I'm on Wi-Fi right now. As you can see, you can sign into your Google account if you want. It'll just immediately, you know, go right into the app. So pretty neat. It's kind of like basically just having like a Android tablet in your car. So we do have different wallpapers to choose from, and you can pick your daytime and nighttime wallpaper. It's pretty neat. All right, so there are gestures now on this unit. That's a little bit different. So whether or not you want to use these, you know, obviously we have a physical volume control, we have steering wheel controls, but something like it says if you swipe left with 2 fingers, it will turn the volume down, as you can see. So this is just like a quick way to turn the volume up and down. It says swipe down with 2 fingers, and it's home, and then back. So give you an example here. Something we can actually hit back on. So just a few gestures, which is, you know, kind of neat, I guess. All right, so one other thing that's kind of neat, like I said, you know, we have to actually add the aftermarket backup camera, but if you had a factory system that had 360-degree cameras, it does support that. We can kind of make a 360 system even in this vehicle. So we have a front and rear camera. If you have a CRV that has a side-mounted mirror camera, you're already kind of ahead of the curve here. So if I click built-in 360, let me show you what happens, just so you can kind of see. So kind of go into 360 camera mode. So you can see we've got our backup camera here. This is our front view ahead of us, which does match the cabinets up there. There's the back view. If we click the different views here, you can kind of see what we got going on. So obviously we don't have the side cameras, so it's not really, you know, complete, but I've got a lot obviously still to learn about the system, but it looks like it can do a whole lot of stuff. And meanwhile, it's recording this, so it looks like there's a lot of neat things that could be added to make this a little bit more than just the plain Jane backup camera like that. All right, so there's a few more things I want to show you real quick if you buy this unit. So if we go into settings, click display, we're gonna go over here to colorful lights. What we want to control is, you know, the button light control. Get back here. So we want to do manual, and we're gonna select the color that we want. So in this Honda, kind of is white. So I'll bring all these down a little bit so they're not so bright at night. So you can see it, that's kind of how that looks. That looks good. Or you can just pick from one of the colors that's already there. Go back to the daytime setting for a minute here. So we're going to click this one, the system application. Let's see. Just so you know, where it says theme set, and I have small light control, that's what uses the headlights to change the theme on here. You can also set it to time control, always light or always dark. Okay, so a few other things. If we go to the file manager, so if we go to the one that says, the folder says owner APK. So there's a DAB player for those of you in Europe, Torque Pro, which is if you have the Bluetooth, OBD2 thing. You can get aftermarket TPMS. There's this oops, don't want to do that. The HD card DVR if you use JY-HZ 1080p USB DVR. So instead of the AR camera, that'll still work. Also one called logo set. So if we click this logo set, that APK, we're going to install that. All right, and then what that will allow us to do is now there's going to be this new app in our app folder here. It says logo set. So if we click that, that will actually let you pick the logo that you'd like. It's obviously restarted in the unit. And obviously there's the Honda logo since it's in our Honda. Alright, so the last thing to cover real quick is multitasking. JY-HZ said this for a long time, but I figured I'd show you how easy it is. So let's say you got the radio on here and you want to bring up another application. You just, right up at the top right corner, click this button here. So there's Google Maps right there. Pretty neat. So, and then you can kind of decide which one you want where, the sizing, full screen like that. So obviously the application has to support split screen. All right guys, so that pretty much wraps it up. I just wanted to cover JY-HZ's newest Android 12 Snapdragon based head units. They're launching on all platforms. Like I said, you have 3 different models to choose from for your 4th gen CRV. So it's pretty exciting. Also the Civics, the newer CRVs, they're going to have the new models coming out as well for them. So there'll be links in the description where you can buy this unit. Like I said, check out the other videos in the description if you're trying to install one of these units in your car. Those are the video you need to follow. This is more just covering what's new with this new unit. Again, there'll be a link to where you can buy this in the description. So if you have any questions or comments, I'll do my best to help you out. Drop a comment below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe for more, and until next time, we'll see you later.